In the previous episode of the course, How Your Brain Learns, we explored how focus and attention act as the gatekeepers of learning. Basically, they decide what information even gets into your brain and what gets ignored. Well, in this episode, we're going to follow that information deeper to see how the brain turns those short-term experiences into long-term memories.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Every single thing you learn, whether it's a new name, a cool fact, or even a new recipe, it all starts out like this. It's just a temporary little burst of neural activity. You can think of it like a tiny electrical spark that's super fragile and could honestly just, poof, disappear in a second.
And that right there is the big question, isn't it? How does that fleeting little spark, that thought that's here one moment and gone the next, actually transform into something solid, something you can pull up years from now? Well, that's the incredible journey we're about to take. So we're starting at the very first stop for any new information, and this is the place where it's most likely to get lost for good. I love this analogy. Think of short-term memory as your brain's temporary notepad. You know, when someone tells you a phone number and you keep repeating it to yourself just long enough to type it in? That's it. That's your short-term memory hard at work. It's happening up in your prefrontal cortex. But here's the catch. Its capacity is tiny. Seriously, one little distraction and that notepad gets wiped completely clean. But what if that piece of information is important? What if it's something you need to remember? Well, if it survives that first fragile stage, it gets moved on to a much more active, much more critical phase. It gets handed over to a real specialist. Welcome to the workbench. See, if short-term memory is just a passive notepad, working memory is where you actually do something with the notes. This is where your brain starts to juggle the information, organize it, and really try to make sense of it. It's the difference between just hearing a list of ingredients and actually picturing how you're going to combine them to make dinner. And who's in charge of this whole operation? Who's the master craftsman at this workbench? It's this amazing little seahorse-shaped structure deep inside your brain called the hippocampus. And calling it a memory engineer is just perfect because its job is so hands-on and so incredibly important. So what does this engineer actually do? Well, this is the crucial part. It's not just filing things away. It's actively linking related ideas, like connecting the year 1492 with Columbus and the idea of a voyage. It also digs through everything you already know, trying to connect this new info with your past experiences. And then it starts that vital process of encoding it, getting it ready for permanent storage. Okay, so our engineer has done its job. But how does all that hard work become permanent? This happens through a process called memory consolidation, which is really just the biological way of saying making a memory stick for good. Now, consolidation isn't some kind of magic trick, it's a physical process, and it really stands on two main pillars. First, you've got repetition and recall. Every single time you review something, you're firing up that neural pathway and making it stronger. And second, and you guys, this one is so important, is sleep. While you're sleeping, your brain is anything but quiet. It's working hard. And this explains perfectly why cramming for a test is such a bad strategy. That one night of frantic studying, it just creates these weak, temporary connections. But if you space out your practice over several days, you give your brain the time, and just as importantly, the sleep it needs to replay those patterns and build strong, permanent connections. You're literally building stronger wiring in your head. Now, there is a kind of shortcut to get your brain's attention, and that's emotion. When you have a really strong feeling about something, good or bad, your amygdala, which is the brain's emotional center, basically slaps a giant neon important sticker on that memory. It's telling the hippocampus, hey, pay attention to this one, save it. That's exactly why you can remember your first day of school with total clarity, but you probably have no idea what you had for lunch 3 days ago. So, once a memory has been fully consolidated, where does it actually go? We're now heading to its final destination, the mind's vast and surprisingly complicated library. This is a really common myth we need to bust. There isn't one single memory spot in your brain where everything gets filed away. Instead, a memory is shattered into pieces and stored all across the brain's cortex. The sight of a rose? That's in your visual cortex. Its smell? That's in your olfactory region. The sharp feeling of its thorns? That's in your sensory cortex. To remember the rose, your brain has to pull all those scattered pieces back together. Pretty cool, right? And this massive library has different sections. You've got declarative memory, which is for stuff you can declare or state, like Paris is the capital of France. Then there's procedural memory, for skills, that muscle memory of how to ride a bike. And finally, semantic memory holds general concepts, like your understanding of what a capital city even is. They're all distinct, but totally interconnected. Okay, that's the biology lesson. But what can we actually do with all this information? Let's get practical and talk about some scientifically proven strategies you can use to actively build better, stronger memories.
Here it is, your personal memory toolkit. First, and this is a game changer, stop just rereading things. You have to test yourself. That's called active recall, and it forces your brain to pull the memory out, which strengthens it every time. Second, space it out. Reviewing info at longer and longer intervals tells your brain this stuff is important for the long haul. Third, mix it up. Don't just study one subject for hours. Interleaving or mixing up subjects forces your brain to build more flexible and robust connections. And finally, picture it. Visualization gives your brain powerful mental images to hook abstract ideas onto.
So what's the ultimate goal here? Why use this toolkit? It's all about moving from that feeling of struggle, that effort of actively recalling something, to a state of automatic flow. True mastery is when the knowledge is so deeply wired in that it just comes to you effortlessly, ready to use whenever you need it. In the next episode, we'll explore how to boost learning efficiency, turning all these principles into practical strategies to learn faster, remember longer, and think smarter. Subscribe and keep training your brain.